Have you been thinking about this low-cost QRP whip antenna? And is it worth it? Let's take a look at it next on AA3K On The Go. So, while on vacation about 2 years ago, I was perusing AliExpress and I saw this low-cost QRP whip antenna for about $35. And I was looking at it, staring at it, and said, do I want to take the risk for $35? And I finally decided to do so. It arrived about 2.5, 3 weeks later, very well packaged. Can't complain about that. Included the detachable whip antenna in a PVC tube, this counterpoise or ground wire, or maybe even antenna wire. There are no instructions that came with this antenna. A BNC right angle adapter, making this antenna very easy to connect to an ICOM 705 or even the new Yaesu FTX1, as well as a right angle BNC to PL259 adapter, making this very easy to connect to the back of the old FT817 and 818 line of radios. So I was very eager to take this out and give it a try in the backyard, and let's say my results were very, very unimpressive. So bad that I decided at the time not to make a video about this antenna because I really didn't have anything good to say about it. I tried not only with the whip extended full length and such, and using this as a ground radial or a counterpoise, and using this as the radiating element, and I just barely made a couple of CW contacts, so it just really wasn't winning. Recently, another YouTube channel, Ham Radio Kid, also tried some experiments with this antenna, and basically he came to the exact same results. He just couldn't get this to load up well on any band. I decided from that video and from some other information I found a while back on the Parks on the Facebook group to give this antenna another look-see. So I took it out, mounted it to my Rig Expert AA55, and went through 10, 15, 20, and 40 meters. This antenna should be able to operate on 12, 17, and 30 meters also. 80 meters might be a bit of a stretch due to the wavelength. And I could only get a decent match, an SWR of approximately 1.5 on 20 meters. The other bands, I basically couldn't get anything much less than 30 to 1 SWR, and I'm not going to risk my FT817, which is early production and does have the finals that can get damaged, nor am I going to risk my 705 with this antenna. But from the Parks on the Facebook group, as I mentioned, I found somebody was talking about this antenna, and it appears that as these come wired from the factory, and these are available under several different names, but they probably all come from the same factory in China. I got the POTA version of this, and for anybody who knows what POTA really means, put it in the comments. To be effective, the internal wiring of this needs to be changed around a little bit. And I have not done that yet, but because this has not been a very productive antenna, I'm going to give that a shot, and so we'll see if I can improve this. All right, let's take a quick look at how this kit arrived. Everything was packaged in this bubble wrap, which I really like. Unfortunately, I do notice these air tubes do lose their air over the time, and I've had this since 2002, 2003, before I found this additional information to try to make this antenna worthwhile. It's still a handy bag to keep everything in. The whip antenna came in this PVC tube with end caps. Neither end is glued on. I did put a little tape on one end to make it a little bit harder to pop off by accident. And here's the whip. It's about 4.5 feet long. I actually have not measured it. It did come with a female BNC right angle to male PL259, perfect for use with the FT817, 818, and a right angle male to female BNC connector, actually using it this way, and it will let this antenna work perfectly with an ICOM 705 or an FTX1 or any other antenna that you need to stand this up from where the antenna port is. The tuning unit has this knurled knob on the top antenna stud, and you can leave it on and just screw the whip on, and you probably acceptably use it that way. I've seen a few other pictures or demonstrations of this particular body where the antenna stud was much longer. And if you take the knurled knob all the way off, you can put the wire that came with this on here, screw it down, and potentially use this as the radiator. Again, there was no instructions supplied with this antenna. As for the tuning body of the antenna, it has a 12-position inductor with various bands labeled on it. I don't know if there's really a direct correlation between the band and the amount of the inductance selected. And also the tuning capacitor, which also has graduated markings on it to let you set this thing up repeatedly for different frequencies if you make notes of it. Just popping some screws on the sides, in this case just the bottom plate, I can get in and we can see the internal wiring. So the intent here is to make a couple of changes and move this around. If we take a look at information I found describing the modifications for adjusting the circuitry within the tuning segments to improve the performance of this antenna. And I've confirmed this is the exact wiring that is in mine. One end of the inductor is just floating, so it's just a pure amount of inductance being placed in parallel with the capacitance, variable capacitor here, off of the center feed from the coax connector on the bottom. So the person who drew this out very nicely indicated the connections. So 1 and 3 are this side and 2 in the middle. Now my capacitor is upside down, but this is not a polarized device, so that will not make a difference. In my case, 1 and 3 are connected at this point and 2 is connected at ground here. And looking down at the inductor here, this is the positioning. So position number 1 is not connected to anything other than the terminal here. Position number 12 is right there in the middle. There appears to be a couple of other cutoff lugs in the middle there. So going to be changing this, because really right now with the performance of this antenna I have nothing to lose, such that I have this portion in parallel with the center conductor of the input BNC, and also going off to position 12. Right now this wire is coming up to the feed point to the actual antenna, and adding a connection from pin 1 of here to ground, as well as the antenna is also automatically grounded to the case. Whether I'm going to reuse this wire for that connection or use a separate multi-strand wire remains to be seen. This is just, I think, a little bit more difficult to work with, but we'll have to sort it out separately. And yes, if you notice carefully, some of this does look like it has some cold solder joints. I did touch up this one, not perfectly, but I did make some improvement there. But that made no difference to the antenna. All right, let's take a look at how this tunes without any modification. And since I want to show this in real time, I really can't do any screen capture. So I have the capacitor set about mid-range, and I am just trying to find anything close to a dip. And with the inductor, not really finding much there. This is on 40 meters. 7200 kilohertz. This is a little bit difficult because this thing does get heavy. And not finding really anything significant. Really the best I can find for most of these matches, except 20 meters, is with the capacitor fully over to the right. All right, let's try 20 meters. And there I have gotten good match. Sorry for the focus here. And now with the capacitor just about fully over to the right, you get about a 1.5 to 1 match on 20 meters, which is pretty good. Let's try 15 meters. And that should be, and again, the only thing I'm really seeing as a good match is with the capacitor all the way to the right, and nothing particularly spectacular there. Let's try 10 meters. And I'm trying this previously with my FT817. Again, I just couldn't get a good match, a good dip. Unlike when using my low cost mag loop antenna, there I would definitely get a good under 2.0 match. Again, capacitors all the way to the right. I'm seeing about 3, and now it's jumping up again. Sorry for the angles here. So what this means is I'm going to implement those changes in the schematic and see if it improves. So this has a chance of being used in the field because it is convenient for its small size. Okay, now modifications done, and first thing I did was run this brown wire from the ground terminal off the input BNC, tucked it down the side, and then tack soldered it to terminal 1 of the inductor switch. I then cut off the lead that ran from the output of the variable capacitor to not only pin 11 of the inductor switch, but also the antenna. Now it ran up here to this terminal attached to the antenna, which is also attached to 11, with minimal ohmage drop between those 2 points. Then it's essentially the same thing. So I just cut it off there, bent the wire down here, scraped off the insulation on the magnet wire, wrapped the one that ran up here around the magnet wire that's going to 12, and just tack soldered them together, and checking continuity, everything was good. I also improved the soldering of that connection, heated it up and reflowed it. I didn't bother removing this terminal up here because I would have to take the inductor out and such to unscrew it to get to it. It just doesn't make a difference anymore. And now just have to put the back on. And when you're doing so, because I've tripped myself up a couple of times, there is a tab on one side of this case and a slot on the other, and the same thing is on this side. So you just have to make sure the tab goes on this side, goes into the slot on this side, otherwise things won't fit together. And just slip it on, push it together, and just put the screws on the side, and I'll add the counterpoise ground wire to run my tests. As for this chart on the back, I'm really not sure what they're trying to tell me. I've looked at it a few times and I'm like, okay, I'll maybe study it in depth in the future, but right now I just want to try to see this assembly and this antenna matching unit, work with the telescopic whip and give me some semblance of a decent match. All right, let's take a look at the results after modifying the circuitry in this tuner. And I'm just going to look at 10, 15, 20, and 40 meters with this. And I'm sorry for the glare. I do have the whip antenna on the angle bracket connected into the rig blaster so I can film it this way. A little bit easier. Unfortunately, I've got glare, and as you can see through the chair here. We have been having a nice cold winter. So on 10 meters, 28.5 megahertz, the best I can tune is 6.1 SWR 0. It's very touchy. It'll rapidly go up, and if I change that, 6.23, going the other way, it's holding 6.23. So it has a little bit of range there. Let's try 15 meters. And currently it starts out with a 14 to 1. 9.8, 18. And definitely this is not like the old Miracle Whip antenna or the current Moonraker Whiz Whip that I'm seeing. Notice I've seen here is an SWR of 9.8. Let's try one more there. Going up. And kind of the best on that setting is 15 to 1 SWR. Not very usable. Let's try 20 meters. And again, a little bit more inductance. Oh, that's a good spot for cutting down some of the glare. I did do some initial testing at night, but it was even colder than it is now. And right now I'm seeing about the best there on 20 meters, where I got a good about 1.5 to 1 match previously. I've definitely, it's not that good anymore. All right, let's give a quick shot on 40 meters. We'll stay just above everyone's favorite frequency of 7.2 megahertz. Gonna definitely need some more. Let's get the capacitor centered. I assume that's centered. And I do have the ground wire radial counterpoise connected here. Getting a little dip. That looks like it. 25, 26 to 1 SWR. So no, but nothing that I really would want to try to take out into the field. So what's the verdict after modifying this? Not that great. I lost the ability to get a good match on 20 meters. Maybe more capacitance or inductance in here. I would have to run what's called a Smith chart analysis against this. And honestly, I haven't done a Smith chart since college a long time ago. As compared to my Wonder Wand mag loop antenna, which works but did not necessarily have stellar performance, the ability to use this antenna is just not going to work out for casual or any sort of parks on the air activation. Very high SWR, very low efficiency to start with when you only have barely 4 feet of whip antenna. I may revisit this antenna using a long wire off of here and basically just using this as a tuning unit. But the advantage to trying to have a very compact, minimal footprint setup with using an antenna like this is just not going to work out. Now, should you buy one of these? Well, if you're an expert at modifying antennas to get them to work, go ahead, feel free to do so. But please do add comments to the comment section below telling us what you did to make this a better antenna. So why don't you check out my other videos on antennas for field use, and I'll put a link in the description. Catch you the next time on A3K On The Go 73. You're getting in the video. No.